Democrats have been fighting for immigration reform for decades. Now, House Republicans are standing in the way of comprehensive immigration reform. Many of you shared your immigration stories to help remind Republicans that this is about families and about a whole new generation of Americans who are already here contributing to our nation every day. Here are your stories. We asked and you shared.
Robert. My maternal great-grandmother came to California from Colima, Mexico to work on the citrus ranches as support staff for the many migrant pickers that would need food, lodging, and laundry services. She eventually married and had 4 daughters, 2 of which she sent to college. I am very proud of my abuelita and her sacrifices to provide for her family during the Depression. I am an architect today because of her belief that you can accomplish anything you set your heart and mind to.
Diane. My maternal grandmother's parents came to Idaho from Denmark. They relocated to a farm in Oregon where my grandmother grew up. She talked very little about it, but mentioned feelings of discrimination in Idaho. I'm so impressed by your approach, finding a way to relate by sharing a personal story. Thank you.
Ida. I'm a semi-retired educator whose own ancestors came over on the Mayflower on my maternal side. As a teacher, I was privileged to serve students emerging in English. Now I'm getting notes from them about finishing college with degrees in economics, finishing college, and becoming speech therapists and working back in school helping other children. I hope the DREAM Act continues to go through and those who have worked here and contributed to our economy get to apply for citizenship.
Alfredo. My story is simple. It begins with my grandfather, Manuel Estrada, coming to the United States to work in the fields through the Bracero program. The United States called Mexico to help, and they came. He was able to immigrate his wife and 5 children. My father, after graduating from high school, became a firefighter. He has been married to his high school sweetheart for almost 40 years. He retired from Imperial County Fire Department as the assistant fire chief.
Dixie. Both my grandparents on my mother's side came as children to America from Denmark to pursue religious freedom. It was difficult because they couldn't speak English at first, and people laughed at them, but they walked everywhere looking for work because their dream was so fixed. I feel the same compassion for those desiring new lives here and now.
Dorothy. My paternal grandfather and his 15-year-old brother stowed away on a ship leaving Oslo, Norway around 1900. My grandfather was only 13 years old and felt the need to come to America to make money to help his family back in Norway. They spoke no English, had no money, but did have a strong desire to make a future for them and to help their family. They arrived in New York Harbor on the 4th of July to a grand celebration. My grandfather asked what all the parades, music, and fireworks were all about, and Uncle John told my grandfather he had arranged for it, all to welcome the boys back to America. It was my grandfather's birthday, and he believed from that day on that the 4th of July Independence Day celebrations were for him as a way to celebrate his new life in America. I have always loved that story, just as I loved my grandfather.
Rosa. My father was born in Ojai, California in 1930 to Mexican immigrants. Many of my relatives participated in the Bracero program. Thanks to my father, we were able to have a better life and education.
Joan. A friend of mine was brought to the U.S. by his parents who emigrated illegally from Canada about 18 years ago. His mother died last year after being hospitalized for over a year, leaving him and his underage sister orphans and homeless. He did a lot of volunteer work in the community and managed to attend junior college. He was recently accepted to UCLA to earn a degree in political science and economics. He's a very intelligent person and has been waiting for the DREAM Act to pass in order to complete his degree and earn enough to support himself and his sister.
Thank you for sharing your stories. Help us advocate for comprehensive immigration reform by visiting www.cadem.org/yourstory to share your family's story with us.